The helicopter came out of nowhere. One moment, Bennett Ashford III was watching his pregnant wife drag her suitcase toward the gate. Humiliated, broken, exactly where he wanted her. The next moment, rotor blades shredded the afternoon sky. Black aircraft, no markings, descending onto his manicured lawn like a predator claiming territory. Bennett's smirk died on his face. The smell of cut grass mixed with aviation fuel. The roar of the engine vibrated through his chest. And somewhere behind him, Tiffany's fingernails dug into his arm hard enough to draw blood. 3 men stepped out. Black suits, dark glasses, moving in formation like they'd done this 1,000 times before. The first one had a scar running from eyebrow to jaw, the kind of scar that tells a story no one wants to hear. The second moved like smoke, silent and watchful, his eyes scanning every exit. The third was smiling. And somehow, that smile was the most terrifying thing of all. They walked past Serena without a glance. She wasn't the one who needed protecting anymore. Their eyes locked on Bennett like heat-seeking missiles. Have you ever watched someone realize, in real time, that they've made a catastrophic mistake? That's what happened to Bennett's face in the next 3 seconds. The scarred one stopped close enough to touch, close enough to kill. Mr. Ashford. His voice was calm, controlled. The voice of a man who had ended conversations in ways that never made morning papers. We need to discuss how you treat our sister. Bennett's legs buckled. He grabbed the Mercedes for support. Your sister? The smiling one leaned in. His breath smelled like mint and danger. We're the Blake brothers. And you just made the worst mistake of your life. But here's what made this different. The Blake brothers didn't reach for weapons. They reached for something far more devastating. A folder. Leather. Thick. Heavy with documents. Dominic spread the first page across the hood of Bennett's own car. Recognize this? Bank statements. Wire transfers. 6 months of payments totaling $200,000, flowing into an offshore account registered to one name. Tiffany Monroe. Bennett's mistress went pale as fresh snow. Every Thursday, Dominic continued, his voice steady as a surgeon's hand. Deposited like clockwork. Payment for services rendered. The afternoon heat pressed down. Somewhere, a bird sang. The contrast was almost cruel. Nature continuing its business while a man's world collapsed. Bennett turned to the woman, wrapped around his arm. Tiffany, what is he talking about? She forced a laugh. It came out wrong. Brittle. Breaking. He's lying. This is ridiculous. Victor Crane. Rashid's voice sliced through her denial. CEO of Crane Holdings. Your husband's biggest competitor. The man who hired you 18 months ago to burn Ashford Industries from the inside out. Silence crashed down like a physical weight. Bennett stared at the woman he'd thrown away his marriage for. The woman he believed without question. The woman whose perfume still clung to his sheets. Tell me this isn't true. She didn't answer. Her eyes were already calculating escape routes. If you've ever trusted someone completely, only to discover they were your destruction, you know exactly what Bennett felt as his reality cracked down the middle. Dominic pressed play on his phone. Tiffany's voice filled the air, recorded and undeniable. Phase 2 complete. He's filing for divorce. Phase 3 starts next week. The company will be his within 90 days. Bennett's knees hit gravel. The same gravel his pregnant wife had walked across 15 minutes ago. But Dominic wasn't finished. That's document 1. He tapped the folder with one finger. We have 4. The second document landed on the hood like a bomb. Your mother owes $4.2 million. Bennett's head snapped up. Impossible. My mother has a trust fund. Gone. Rashid didn't blink. Casinos. Underground poker rooms. The kind of debts that don't come with payment plans. Through the mansion window, Cordelia Ashford stood frozen, watching her secret spill across her son's Mercedes like blood. She's been hiding it for 6 years, Dominic explained. Forging signatures. Lying to auditors. Borrowing against assets she didn't own. The magnolia trees lining the driveway rustled in a breeze that felt almost mocking. Such a beautiful day for such ugly truths. When Tiffany offered her a solution, discredit the baby, destroy the marriage, keep the family secrets buried, Terrence's smile widened. Mommy said yes. Bennett turned toward the house, toward the silhouette of the woman who raised him. Mom. His voice cracked like a child's. Cordelia didn't answer. She stepped back from the window and vanished into shadow. What would you do if you discovered your own mother helped destroy your marriage? Comment below, because what happened next was even worse. Document 3 hit the hood. 3 sheets. 3 different labs. 3 independent DNA tests. The baby is yours. The words detonated in Bennett's chest. No, that's not. Tiffany showed me proof. Fabricated. Dominic's voice carried no mercy. The lab technician she bribed kept records. Emails. Bank transfers. $50,000 to falsify paternity results. The evidence sat there, undeniable, damning, absolute. Bennett had thrown out his pregnant wife, called his own son illegitimate, humiliated the mother of his child in front of his mistress. All based on lies he'd chosen to believe. You didn't want to know the truth. Serena's voice cut through the chaos. Bennett looked up. His wife, 7 months pregnant, gold dress catching the dying light, stood 10 feet away with her hand on her belly, protecting the son he'd tried to discard. For years of marriage, she said quietly, and you believed a stranger over me. He reached for her. Dominic's shoe came down on his wrist. Gentle. A warning. We're not done. He pulled out the final document. This one, nobody saw coming. Not even Serena. The photograph showed a face Bennett knew intimately. Silver hair. Cold eyes. Distinguished features. His father. Harrison Ashford. The man who died in a car accident 3 years ago. He didn't die. The words hung in the summer air like poison. He faked his death. New identity. New life. And for the last 18 months, he's been running one very specific operation. Dominic dropped surveillance photos across the hood. Harrison meeting with Victor Crane. Harrison meeting with Tiffany. Harrison orchestrating the destruction of his own family. Your father hired everyone. The mistress. The competitor. The lawyers. He built a machine designed to destroy everything your mother cares about. Bennett couldn't breathe. What? Revenge. Rashid stepped forward. 6 years ago, he discovered Cordelia's gambling debts. She threatened to expose his offshore accounts, his tax fraud, his second family in Switzerland. So he disappeared, let her think she was free, and spent 3 years building the trap that would take everything from her. Terrence pointed at Bennett. The company, the estate, the family name, even you. Just collateral damage. The man who taught Bennett to ride a bike. The man whose funeral he'd wept at. The man who'd been watching his son destroy his own marriage and smiling from the shadows. Dominic's voice dropped. And here's what should terrify you. He's not finished. Every eye turned to Serena. Her brothers waited. One word and Bennett would disappear. One nod, and this would end in ways that never made police reports. Bennett was still on his knees. Broken. Pathetic. Please. His voice cracked. I didn't know. I was manipulated. Serena studied him. The man who'd promised to love her forever. The man who'd pressed his hand to her belly and whispered about their future. The man who'd thrown her away because a blonde smiled at him. Something shifted inside her. Not forgiveness. Something colder. Clarity. No. Dominic's hand moved toward his jacket. No, she repeated. Not like that. She stepped forward until she was standing directly over her husband. I don't want him hurt. Confusion flickered across Terrence's face. I want him to watch. She crouched down. Eye level with devastation. Your father is going to take your company. Tiffany will disappear with whatever she can steal. Your mother's debts will go public. Her voice was steady as stone. My brothers have enough evidence to stop all of it. To save Ashford Industries. To protect your family legacy. She touched her belly. But you chose wrong. You called our son a bastard. She stood. So now you watch everything crumble. And you know that I could have saved you. Some people say Serena was too merciful. Others say she delivered the perfect punishment. What would you have done in her place? She turned to walk away. But Dominic stopped her. There's one more thing, little sister. His voice dropped to ice. Harrison filed for emergency custody this morning. He's trying to take your son. Serena's blood crystallized. What? Federal court. Emergency motion. Claims you're an unfit mother due to dangerous family associations. He didn't have to explain. Her family. The Blake brothers. The empire they built in shadows. Harrison was using her own blood as a weapon. The hearing is in 48 hours. Serena's hand pressed against her belly. Her son kicked, strong, alive, hers. He can't have him. Her voice changed. Something ancient. Something dangerous. He will never have him. Dominic studied his sister. For 10 years, She'd run from this family, from a name, from a power. But standing here, threat against her child, something had finally broken. Something had finally healed. What do you want us to do? Serena looked at her brothers. The men she'd pushed away. The men who would burn the world if she asked. For 10 years, she'd been ashamed of them. Not anymore. Destroy him. Her voice was steady. Every secret exposed. Every crime documented. Every lie dragged into daylight. She straightened. In open court. In front of cameras. So the world sees what he really is. Terrence's smile returned. Now that's a Blake. The next 48 hours blurred. Dominic coordinated lawyers. The kind who charged by the secret. Rashid gathered witnesses through methods that never appeared in court transcripts. Terrence worked the legitimate channels, calling favors from judges and politicians who owed debts that couldn't be paid in cash. And Serena? Serena prepared for war. She memorized timelines, practiced testimony until her voice rang like steel, reviewed evidence until she could recite bank account numbers in her sleep. Her brothers offered their way, quieter, faster, permanent. She refused. I want him to lose in public. I want the world to see. The night before, Dominic sat beside her. You don't have to do this alone. I know. We'll be in that courtroom. Every second. She looked at her brother. The scar. The weight. The things he'd done that she'd never ask about. I spent 10 years running from this family. I know. I'm done running. Dominic nodded. Good. Because tomorrow, Harrison learned something important. What? His eyes went cold. You don't touch a Blake's child and walk away. Serena's phone buzzed. Unknown number. For words. See you in court. H. He was watching. He'd always been watching. The federal courthouse in Hartford was built to intimidate. Marble columns. Vaulted ceilings. The weight of justice pressing down on everyone who entered. Serena walked through the doors at 8:47 a.m. Gold dress. Head high. One hand on her belly. Behind her, 3 shadows in black suits. In front of her, the fight of her life. The courtroom was packed. Reporters crammed the gallery. Cameras lined the hallway. Someone had leaked. Billionaire fakes death, returns to steal grandson, and now the world was watching. The door opened. Harrison Ashford walked in like he owned the building. 72 years old. Silver hair. The same cold eyes his son had inherited. He didn't look at Serena's face. He looked at her belly. Calculating. Hungry. Their eyes met. 3 years of planning. 18 months of manipulation. Countless lives destroyed. All for this moment. Harrison smiled. The smile of a man who believed he'd already won. His lawyers attacked first. 3 hours of calculated destruction. Witnesses described suspicious activities around the Blake family. Investigators presented surveillance photos. A child psychologist explained, in clinical, devastating detail, why children raised near criminal enterprises suffered lasting trauma. Through it all, Serena sat motionless, taking notes, staying calm. Her brothers watched from a gallery as their lives were dissected for public consumption. Have you ever had to sit silently while someone tried to destroy you with lies? That's what Serena endured for 3 hours. Harrison's attorney delivered the closing. Your Honor, this is about protecting an innocent child. The Blake family's history speaks for itself. We request temporary custody while. Objection. Serena's voice cut clean. On what grounds, Ms. Blake? On the grounds that Harrison Ashford is a fraud, a felon, and a liar. The gallery erupted. Your Honor, I have evidence proving Harrison Ashford orchestrated this entire situation. That he faked his death, manipulated his son, and manufactured every piece of testimony this court has heard today. She pulled a folder from her briefcase, starting with his conversations with the woman he hired to destroy my marriage. The judge leaned forward. Proceed. Serena pressed play. Tiffany's voice filled the courtroom. Phase 1 complete. He's sleeping with me. Harrison's voice responded. Good. Make sure the paternity results are ready. I want her gone before the baby's born. The gallery gasped. Harrison's mask cracked. For the first time, genuine emotion crossed his face. Not shame. Not regret. Rage. This is inadmissible. Your Honor. Dominic's voice from the gallery. Calm. Steady. Every document was provided to federal authorities 6 hours ago. They're executing search warrants on Mr. Ashford's properties in Monaco, Switzerland, and the Caymans as we speak. Harrison's face went white. The judge stared at the mountain of evidence. I've seen enough. His gavel came down like thunder. In 30 years on this bench, I have never witnessed a more calculated attempt to manipulate this court. He turned to Harrison. You faked your death, conspired to destroy your son's marriage, manufactured evidence to steal a child from his mother. The gavel fell again. Emergency custody motion denied. Permanently. The gallery erupted. Serena's hand went to her belly. Relief flooded through her like warm water. Furthermore, I'm remanding Harrison Ashford to federal custody, pending investigation. Bailiffs. 2 officers approached the man who had orchestrated everything. 3 years of planning. Millions of dollars. Countless lives destroyed. Reduced to a defendant in handcuffs. As they let him pass Serena, Harrison stopped. You think you've won? His whisper was ice. The Blake family always destroys itself, eventually. Serena didn't flinch. Maybe, but you won't be around to see it. In the gallery, Bennett watched. His father in handcuffs. His ex-wife victorious. The family he'd destroyed. The son he'd thrown away. Everything he could have had. Gone. Harrison passed him. Father and son. Eye to eye. You did this to yourself, Bennett whispered. Harrison's smile was ice. So did you. 6 weeks later, Cordelia Ashford died alone in a hospital room. Not from illness. From exposure. When her creditors learned about the federal investigation, when they realized the Ashford assets were frozen, they came collecting. The men she'd borrowed from didn't accept payment plans. They accepted flesh and blood and fear. The stress triggered a massive coronary. Bennett couldn't afford to be there. He was in a different courthouse, fighting his own creditors, watching the last pieces of his inheritance disappear into lawyers' fees. He found out from a text message. 3 months after that, Tiffany Monroe was arrested in Monaco. She fled with $2.3 million siphoned during the chaos. She thought Europe was far enough. She thought new documents and blonde-haired dye would be enough. She was wrong. The Blake brothers' reach extended further than any map. She tried to trade information about Harrison for leniency. Prosecutors listened politely. Then they added charges. The Greenwich estate, 4 generations of Ashford history, sold at auction in month 4. Victor Crane bought it. For sentimental reasons, he told reporters. He turned it into corporate housing. The gardens where Bennett learned to walk became a parking lot. The library where his grandfather signed million-dollar deals became a break room with vending machines. Have you ever watched everything you were promised dissolve into nothing? That's what Bennett experienced, one headline at a time. He moved into a 1-bedroom apartment in a neighborhood he used to drive through with the windows up. The wallpaper was peeling. The radiator clanked at night. The neighbors screamed through thin walls. He sent out job applications. Dozens. Hundreds. None were answered. His name was toxic. His reputation was radioactive. The Ashford legacy, once a golden ticket, had become a scarlet letter. Meanwhile, in a hospital room across the state, a baby was born. 7 pounds, 4 ounces. His mother's eyes. His uncle's fierce protection. They named him Dominic Jr. Serena sent the first photograph 6 months later. Plain envelope. No return address. Delivered to Bennett's apartment on the anniversary of the day he threw her out. Inside, a single image. His son at 6 months old. Healthy. Smiling. Happy. Caption on the back. Everything you chose to lose. Bennett held it for an hour. Sitting on a second-hand bed. Staring at the child he'd called illegitimate. The son he discarded like garbage. He cried until nothing remained. Not the tears of a victim. The tears of a man who finally understood what he'd done. He could have fought for visitation. Could have hired lawyers. Could have begged. But he knew. He knew Serena's brothers would never allow it. He knew any judge would see his history. He knew, in his bones, that he didn't deserve to be in that boy's life. Some mistakes can't be undone. Some doors, once closed, stay locked forever. He put the photograph in a shoebox. The first of many. Every year, same date, another envelope arrived. Year 1. First steps, tiny feet on hardwood floors. Year 3. First day of school, backpack almost bigger than his body. Year 5. Birthday party, surrounded by uncles, blowing out candles. Each photograph a window into a life Bennett could never touch. Each one a reminder of the family he destroyed with his own weakness. He kept them all. Looked at them every night before sleep. Wondering what his son's laugh sounded like. Wondering if he'd ever hear it. If you've ever lost something irreplaceable through your own choices, you know the weight Bennett carried. That constant presence in his chest. That shadow that never lifts. 7 years after the helicopter, Serena Blake had become someone new. Not by running from who she was, by finally embracing it. She stood in the corner office of Blake & Associates, the most respected family law firm on the East Coast. Her specialty: women escaping betrayal, wives discarded by wealthy husbands, mothers fighting for custody against powerful men, women told they were worthless, disposable, replaceable, women who reminded her of herself. Every case was personal. Every victory was redemption. She'd won against CEOs, politicians, and once, with particular satisfaction, against a hedge fund manager who'd hidden $40 million from his pregnant wife. The Blake brothers' resources opened doors. Their reputation made opposing counsel nervous. But Serena did the work. Serena stood in those courtrooms. Serena looked those men in the eyes and tore their lies apart. Dominic Jr. was 7 now. Bright, curious, fearless. He had his mother's eyes and his uncle's protective instincts. He called Dominic Uncle Dom, and Rashid Uncle Quiet, and Terrence Uncle Smiley. He knew his uncles loved him. He knew they would protect him. He knew family meant something unbreakable. One night, tucking him in a bed, he asked the question Serena had been waiting for. "Mom, what happened to my dad?" She sat on the edge of his bed, took his small hand. "Your dad made choices. Bad choices. Choices that hurt people. Did he hurt you?" "Yes." "Then I don't like him." Serena smiled softly. "You can feel however you want. But here's what I want you to know. People make mistakes. Sometimes terrible ones. That's their burden, not yours. Does he know about me? He knows you exist. He knows you're happy." Silence. "Does he want to know me?" The question hung in darkness. "I think he does. But wanting something doesn't mean you deserve it." She kissed his forehead. "You have all the family you need. Right here." That night, Serena wrote a letter. "Dear Bennett, today our son asked about his father. I told him the truth, that you made choices, and choices have consequences. I'm not writing to hurt you. I'm done carrying anger. I'm writing because you should know who he is. He's brave, kind, curious about everything. He loves chocolate chip pancakes and hates broccoli. He has your mother's stubbornness. Yes, even that came from somewhere good once. When he's older, he'll decide whether to find you. I won't stop him. I won't encourage him. That choice is his. But I want you to know, I forgave you. Not for your sake, for mine. You destroyed your life chasing something that was never real. I built mine remembering what was. Family, loyalty, love that doesn't break. I hope you find peace, but you will never find us. Serena." She folded it with that year's photograph. Dominic Jr. at 7, birthday candles glowing, surrounded by uncles. 2 days later, Bennett read it 17 times, cried until nothing remained, and finally understood, not just what he'd lost. Why? He'd wanted an excuse. Permission to run. Tiffany gave it, and he took it, not because he believed the lies, because believing was easier than becoming the man Serena deserved. Some men learn too late that love isn't something you deserve. It's something you protect. Bennett learned that lesson every remaining day of his life. Harrison Ashford died in federal prison. Heart attack. Alone. No funeral. No mourners. The man who orchestrated everything erased as if he'd never existed. Victor Crane lost his empire in a separate investigation. The Blake brothers' evidence kept surfacing. Documents, recordings, connections. By the time prosecutors finished, Crane Holdings was memory, and Victor occupied a cell 3 doors from where Harrison died. Tiffany served 8 years. Released for good behavior. Last seen working at a Phoenix hotel under a different name. Some said she found God. Others said she was just hiding. She never came near Connecticut again. Bennett still lives in that 1-bedroom apartment. Works at a nonprofit now. Legal aid for people who can't afford attorneys. The work doesn't pay much, but it feels like penance. Like maybe, if he helps enough people, the weight will lift. It hasn't yet. He still keeps the photographs. Still looks at them every night. His son is 10 now. Tall, confident, happy. A stranger who shares his blood. And Serena Blake? Serena was home. A converted farmhouse outside Boston. Land for Dominic Jr. to run. Security system Rashid personally installed. Home was Tuesday dinners when all 3 brothers crowded her kitchen, arguing about football. Home was her son's laughter in hallways that had never known violence. Home was the work, the women she saved, one case at a time. She had built something beautiful from ashes, and she protected it fiercely. One night, late, after Dominic Jr. was asleep, there was a knock at the door. Serena checked the security monitor. A woman on her porch. Young, maybe 25, pregnant, bruises on her arms. Serena opened the door. Please. The woman's voice trembled. I heard you help people like me. I didn't know where else to go. Serena looked at her, saw herself. 7 years ago. Gold dress. Suitcase at her feet. Nowhere to go. Until there was. She opened the door wider. Come inside. You're safe now. Footsteps behind her. Dominic appeared in the hallway. Watchful. Ready. Who is it? Serena looked at her brother. Then at the woman. Then at the long road ahead. The next one. Dominic nodded. I'll make coffee. The door closed. Another story beginning. Another woman who refused to stay broken. And in a one-bedroom apartment across the state, Bennett put down the photograph. His son at 10. Soccer uniform. Grinning. He traced the edges with his finger. Placed it back in a shoebox with 72 others. 73 windows into a life he would never touch. He closed the box. Turned off the light. And lived with the consequences. That woman at Serena's door? Her story is just as devastating. Just as powerful. And if you think this ending was satisfying, wait until you see what happens when the Blake brothers face a threat even they weren't prepared for. Subscribe and hit the bell. Stories like this don't happen by accident. And the next one might be even more shocking. Now tell me in the comments. Was Serena right to forgive Bennett? Should she have let Dominic Jr. meet his father? Or was keeping him away the only justice that mattered? I'm reading every single response.
Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.